whiskey as an asset class and as a social currency to network and break into ultra-high net worth circles. And what actually prompted me to talk about whiskey as a topic today is I actually met a Singaporean investment banker at a private members club, and he opened his own investment banking firm. And one of the things that he does for his clients, on top of floating their companies on the public markets, because all of them are business owners, is that he actually has a subsidiary that invests their private wealth into just bespoke investments. So bespoke investments that you can't find anywhere out there in the banks. And one of the really hot bespoke investments right now among the ultra wealthy is whiskey. So what is actually the allure of rare whiskey? The ultra rich treat rare whiskey like art or classic cars. So this means that it's collectible, there's heritage to it, and there's scarcity to it, which makes it even more exclusive. And here's a record. The Macallan 1926 Valerio Adami sold for over £2.18 million at the Sotheby's auction. So you could actually see how the ultra-rich actually take rare whiskey really seriously when it comes to it being a hot commodity and it's an asset class. And over the past decade, rare Scotch has outpaced many luxury assets, and some reporting over more than 600% in an increase. So that's a 6-time increase. And what is actually the emotional and status capital of whiskey? So when you want to use social currency as a way to socialize and get into like a higher level circle, or to get higher net worth clients or friends or higher value partners, you have to understand the emotional and the status capital of the social currency that you're using. So in this case, whiskey actually carries memory. So imagine aged barrels, provenance, and distillers. And it's a tangible asset in an intangible world. So pouring a rare whiskey demonstrates you value legacy and not just flash. And also, I want to remind you that it is a limiting belief that you have to drink in order to succeed. So something that I actually said before in my networking with wine video, and how you could actually shatter this limiting belief is to find real life living proof in reality that shows and proves otherwise. So I'm going to give you an example. So when I was in Singapore, I actually met a Swiss private banker from UBS back then. He's probably not there anymore, but he's Swiss German, and his whole portfolio of clients are all Middle Eastern clients. So he managed the Middle Eastern desk for Middle East. And thinking that it's the Arabic culture, that I thought that it was going to be entertainment heavy when it comes to drinking alcohol. I actually asked him like, hey, so do you have to drink every day? Especially in Singapore, at least in my experience, in the private banking culture there, you actually have to drink almost every day because it's more relationship heavy and not so much performance heavy of the portfolio. And so it's quite funny. He actually told me that, no, he doesn't drink at all. And guess what? He's managing $500 million in assets under management for all his Middle Eastern clients. So that example shatters the limiting belief that you have to drink in order to succeed socially. And that is so not true. All you have to do is to really understand the social currency that you're using in order to connect with an ultra high net worth person. So now I have another story to share, is that at a private tasting in London, I gently asked the host which cask their friends considered undervalued. And the next day, I was invited to a closed auction where a client bid 300K. And this shows you how important whiskey is as a social currency, because this relationship started over whiskey and not spreadsheets. So Here's the psychology of whiskey. What does a dram, D-R-A-M, communicate? So what is actually a dram? A dram simply means a small serving of whiskey, usually from 25 to 35 ml. And what a dram actually shows is that it shows that a dram of whiskey shows the other person that you have patience and time, that because only true wealth waits for decades. So the ultra wealthy only see time in terms of decades and long term. They don't just see they don't just plan what's gonna happen for the next 6 months or 1 year. No, they plan across generations. And whiskey, the metaphoric meaning of whiskey, which shows patience and time, actually aligns to that vision. And it also shows discretion and over display. So rare bottles are often held off radar and they are being passed in these private, ultra wealthy circles. And it also shows trust. So when someone shares their bottle with you, they are signaling a deeper acceptance. And here's what you could say to them. Just an example, right? You could always adapt, the sentences or the scripts that I give you here. You could say something like, I read that the 1978 Glendronach single cask line is yielding interesting returns. Are you a fan? So you could ask something like that, like talk about the yielding returns and ask like, what's your take on it? You know, like which side of the fence are they sitting on? And that kind of insight gets you deeper than just complimenting them that it's a nice label. And here's a market insight. Whiskey and rare spirits remain one of the top performing status spirits categories. And while demand is high, rarity drives value. So remember I said the exclusivity and scarcity actually drives value up. And ultra high net worth people, they really like things that are exclusive and hard to get because it shows and it separates them socially from the masses, that they are able to own something that is very exclusive and hard to get, which demands a higher price. So what are the entry strategies? So how do you actually access whiskey rooms without being a collector? So firstly, you attend whiskey auctions and private tastings. So this means the Sotheby's, Bonhams, regional distillery previews, and most access happens before the public sale. And secondly, you could join collector or investment clubs like the Whiskey and Wealth Club, private cask syndicates, and thirdly, you could collaborate on private labor projects. So a lot of entrepreneurs, they actually start their own private labor projects on the side. Well, at least from what I see in some circles. And you could always offer to co-create a bottling series, or you could have distillery partnerships that often bring you into inner circles. And be a thoughtful learner, not a buyer. So ask questions about the cask aging, the angel's share, or the barrel wood, or something that I'll go deeper into my course on elevating circles. So use study, research, and curiosity over bragging. And lastly, attend master's class or VIP distillery dinners. So these are invitation only, but often include patrons and the ultra wealthy. So how do you get an invitation, you ask me? Well, all you gotta do is to find people who are dealing with ultra high net worth clients. So I call this the spheres of influence. And what they actually are the gatekeepers of an ultra wealthy or ultra high net worth individual. And in order to get a slice, not just a slice of wallet, a share of wallet, but you want to get a slice or a share of trust. So all these gatekeepers have already gotten a vested slice of that person's trust. So what you want to do is that first you have to get a trust from these gatekeepers first, so that you're able to be align with them in order to get a share of wallet or share of trust of this bullseye, which is the ultra high net worth person. And that is how you can get invitations like this, right? Of course, you can get invitations to all kinds of events, like watch events, horse racing events, in St. Moritz, for example. But my point here is that how do you want to really get straight to the main person is that you want to align yourself in the trust circle of this sphere of influence around this ultra high net worth individual, which are their gatekeepers. So anyone that has already gained their trust and is already offering value in any shape or form to this person would be someone who's able to invite you to events that have more of this kind of ultra high net worth individuals. So here's a positioning example. At a London distillery dinner, I said the interplay of Oloroso cask finish and Highland peat is fascinating. Did you taste the sadder notes in the mid palate? So ask something that is very discerning, right? And that comment led a veteran collector to ask me to join his private tasting circle. So when you ask questions, make sure that it's very well thought out and make sure that it actually correlates to you being very discerning when it comes to the palate. Even if you don't drink, but you know, people love to talk about themselves, so you could always ask that. And okay, so here are some whiskey and networking. These are some whiskey networking hubs and events that you could go to. The first is Whiskey Live in London, Tokyo, or New York City, Scotch whiskey festivals, rare whiskey auctions, Sotheby's and Bonhams, and distillery VIP weekends like Islay, Speyside, or the Kentucky Bourbon Trails. And for regional hotspots, you could go to Japan, like Yamazaki and Nikka tastings, Scotland, distilleries tours in Speyside and Islay, and the United States, where there's the Kentucky Bourbon Week and private barrel rooms. So you don't always have to board the event, although it would be great if you could. The hotel lobby, private dinners, and hotel whiskey bars often host the real deals. So even if you can't get into the event, and this doesn't just apply to whiskey, it could apply to anything, right? Like even, for example, the F1 VIP box. All you got to do is to be in the periphery of it, because often those are where the real deals are held, right? Like the hotel lobby closest to that VIP box, or restaurant closest to that event, and in this case, like the hotel whiskey bars. So here are some conversation triggers that signal fluency. Here are some high-impact questions. Was this aged in American oak or European? And did the distiller tweak the char level? Do you prefer cask strength or reduced bottling? Why? And do you collect verticals, year on year hunts from the same distillery? And here are some signal moves. You could always mention independent bottlers like the Signatory or Douglas Lang. And you could always reference cask investment, bottling run numbers, or the Angels' share percentages. So use tasting adjectives like brine, undergrowth, heather, or fennel because they show depth. And avoid asking how much this is or whether this is expensive. Don't brag about bottles on your shelf, and avoid over-enthusiasm because the ultra-rich value restraint and confidence. And now for whiskey etiquette and silent judgments. So you never know. So usually people are observing you, right? Even if it's discreetly and not that obvious, but people are always watching. So never pour without offering first. That says a lot. And swirl gently, don't slosh. Smell before tasting, hold the glass near your nose and not lift the bottle. Don't comment loudly because refined reactions matter. And lastly, handle decanters or glassware with care because these micro actions are observed. And they'll notice how you sniff the cork, how you measure the drip, and whether you leave a trace on the glass because small cues reveal a lot. So lastly, I'm going to talk very quickly about whiskey being as an asset class and what the investment logic is behind it. So whiskey can actually hedge inflation. Rare bottles have outperformed many asset classes, so this makes it a great hedge other than gold. And some buy casks at the barrel stage. For example, Whiskey and Wealth, which is a club that I just mentioned, they actually do this. And legacy transfers, like one collector that amassed over more than 150 million in whiskey collection on Forbes. So treat bottles like shares, right? Treat bottles like stocks. You buy small, you let it age, and then you offer slices via fractional ownership. And that shows that you're not a hobbyist, but you treat whiskey as capital, even if you don't drink. So here's a few stories that I'd like to share. I once actually had a dinner beside a collector who casually mentioned he sat on 150 Cullinan casks. And I asked which vintage he believed was undervalued. And that night, I received an invitation from his family office for a private tasting in Edinburgh. So again, right? Just by casually mentioning something, you could actually get an invitation if you know the right things to say. And the second story here is at the London Gala, a philanthropist poured rare Japanese whiskey to a few guests quietly. And I leaned in and commented on the barrel finish. And 6 months later, he introduced me to his ultra high net worth circle. So when you speak whiskey's language, like how you approach it, what kind of questions you ask, you don't just become interesting, but you actually become accepted by that circle. So this is a roundup of whiskey as a topic, and I'm going to just quickly go over like the office right now. So in elevating circles, I teach you how to embed presence, social fluency across all the ultra high net worth social currencies so that you're able to expand your high value network. Where it doesn't matter what your end goal is, whether you want to get high net worth clients, whether you want to expand to high value friends or a high value partner. The point of this is to be able to break into ultra high net worth circles because people, high value people, will always open doors for you, and it doesn't matter what format that is. And so that's for elevating circles, and it goes at 1222 euros. And then I also have quantum cheat code, and that's very much on energy and manifestation. So you might be wondering, like, how do I actually meet like all these people, right? Like even at a private club lobby where I could just meet this investment banker who just opened his own investment banking firm and then have this spark to talk about whiskey today. It actually very much boils down to your energy. So it's something that you embody so that you're able to naturally attract these people without actually having to chase and to hunt for them specifically. So it's a very natural and organic thing, like the places that you go. If you embody an energy that attracts ultra high net worth individuals, then it's just like very effortless and very smooth. So that's more on the energy side. In quantum cheat code, I would be talking about energy and manifestations, and you could actually use it like in any aspect of your life, not just networking, of course. Or you could use it to quantum leap. And the point is to embody the right energy by doing certain things so that you can activate a higher frequency energy and materialize that in the physical world. And so that's for quantum cheat code. And also, because I only have so many hours a day. So I am going to bundle up the quantum cheat code as well as the elevating circles together with 4 private coaching sessions. So 4 mentorship sessions at 1 hour each. So you have 4 1-hourly sessions as a bundle together with elevating circles and quantum cheat code course. And this will be going at 4,444 euros. And also, lastly, I'll be launching my own Substack soon, so I'll put the link down below. So I'll be writing very vivid cinematic stories in the ultra high net worth world. So you can imagine from Russian oligarchs, banking for them, all the way to private jets, super yachts, just all these juicy and exciting stories that I can't put it out here on a public platform because there's some certain level of discretion to it. And I'll have to put it behind a paywall. So it will be going for $20, just $20 a month. Because, it's not like something that I want like the whole world to just access those stories when it's something that is so gate-kept in the ultra high net worth world. But because I love writing poetry and I love writing stories, so it would be in a very vivid and cinematic kind of long-form story. And the point of this is not just to entertain you, but it's also for you to connect to that energy so that you're able to activate, being what it's really like to be in the ultra high net worth world. And of course, lots of exciting stuff that, I could write a book on it. And usually things that happen, no one wants to put it on the news. And that's why I have to put it behind a paid wall. And also, you'll be getting 1 article per week in terms of the story. And then on top of that, so you get 4 stories in a month. And on top of that, you also have like a value add kind of bonus networking tip or energy manifestation article or audio note that is just a cherry on top of that. But the main sponge of the cake would be all these vivid cinematic stories that no one wants to share or talk about outside of the ultra wealthy world that I will be spilling in my Substack. So keep an eye out for that. And I'll put the link down below once it's ready, and I'll also update my links on my Linktree and on my cover page across all my social media platforms. And well, okay, so we have come to the end of the live today. I hope you've enjoyed this topic, and I'll see you in the next live.